Welcome to the Beyond the Mat podcast, an in-depth talk show discussing exclusively WWE topics.
My name's Rick Boogs, and I came to rock with the Beyond the Mat podcast that is beyond the M-A-T-T podcast. Ah!
All right, welcome to the Beyond the Mat podcast. This is Matt here again. We are here to review Smackdown from May 20th, 2002 from Grand Rapids, Michigan, not far from, well, probably pretty far because Michigan's a big state, but I was going to say not far from my buddy Kyle in Detroit. Before Smackdown tonight, we heard a little bit of news from Dave Meltzer about Roman Reigns' next 3 opponents scheduled for premium live events over the summer. They will be, according to Meltzer, Riddle, Orton, and McIntyre in that order. We also heard that we will get some news on SmackDown, which we did, regarding Sasha and Naomi and their future, as well as the future of the tag team titles. And we had our main event of SmackDown Tag Team Unification winner takes all match, and it did end with a finish. Wasn't clean, but we do have new unified tag champions. And the dark match tonight was Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. So it looks like we may have a Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley feud to look forward to in the future. I got Kyle here on the hot tag. How you doing, Kyle?
Doing awesome. If Grand Rapids wasn't 3 hours away from me, I would have gone. It would have been awesome, but I'm glad to hear my hometown state of Michigan getting represented tonight. By the way, did you notice how many times they said Grand Rapids? It's Grand Rapids. We're in Grand Rapids. Pat McAfee is in love with Grand Rapids. I'm just going to point that out.
They were not afraid to mention the city name here like they are in some cases. Last week, they didn't want to admit that they were in Wilkes-Barre, where I was.
It's crazy.
So what'd you think of the show?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Kind of average. I feel like we've been spoiled recently with good episodes of Raw and SmackDown, so I feel like this one wasn't that great. Very mediocre. Some things I liked, some things I didn't. I do like that we saw some unfamiliar faces and getting to see Shotzi wrestle. That was fantastic. Anytime I get to see like stars that aren't there on a weekly basis, I'm really happy about that. It was interesting ending. Interesting in the sense that it was very expected, I should say. A lot of people kind of guessed what was going to happen, but I'm here for it, because I'm a huge fan of the Bloodline. But let's start back at the top.
Yep, we had the show lead off with a Bloodline promo. Roman Reigns came out. Heyman handed the mic all funny to Roman with his fingers flickering. This one was a pretty standard Bloodline promo. Got the acknowledge me out there. And...
Acknowledge me. Acknowledge me. You're going to acknowledge me.
They did acknowledge him, and he
That's right.
That's right. And he didn't care because he wanted them to acknowledge the Usos, because he claimed that tonight they were going to be unified tag champions. Then he asked Heyman to explain that. He basically did his same old Heyman thing and said that they will become the unified champions tonight. And that's not a prediction, but it's a spoiler. What do you think of the opening segment here? The heat that they got? Do you feel like the crowd reacted right? They had them come out and pose at the top, and then go right to commercial, which was, probably great for the live fans. But what do you feel?
Yeah, I felt like the audience was there for it tonight. They were cheering a lot. They were booing a lot. They booed the bloodline a lot here in the beginning. I love Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is a freaking genius. He's a wordsmith. The way that he says his lines and presents them is just awesome.
Yeah, you stole wordsmith right
best
out of my
manager ever.
mouth.
What's that?
Stole the word wordsmith right out of my mouth. That's how I would.
Oh my God, it's great. And he's going on about, Roman being the GOAT and they're going to win the tag team titles. But it was interesting that there's a little stipulation given here where Paul says that if they don't come home the undisputed champs, then they won't come home at all. And that was very interesting.
Yeah, I did hear that. I thought that was pretty interesting. And I was wondering what the hell is going to happen here. Are they going to, is that guaranteeing us now that the Usos are going to win this? They're telegraphing it. What's going to go on here? What happens if they lose?
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to portray them as being left and not allowed home if they lose? So it definitely added an interesting element to it. But I agree with you that the bloodline had the heat here. The fans were definitely for RKBro tonight. We saw that at the end of the show. But other than the acknowledge me, they were booing the crap out of the bloodline.
Oh, yeah. And then one little thing at the very end of this segment, as Roman is saying that he has these expectations to the Usos because he loves them. And then he gives them a hug. But as he's giving them a hug, he gives the camera this very sly smile. He's, like he looks dubious. So something's on right then and there. Right? That was your hint to the crowd.
Yeah. I felt like there were some things that were telegraphed tonight, but we'll get into it. We had Sami Zayn backstage. He was pretty pleased with this promo that the Bloodline did.
Wearing his Bloodline shirt again.
Had that Bloodline shirt on, and he was ready for his match with Shinsuke Nakamura. So he comes out for the match. Nakamura gets a nice reaction for his entrance. Zayn controlled the match pretty early. Nakamura fought back in it with some nice looking babyface chain wrestling moves, flipping all over the place. Zayn eventually got back in control, though, by pulling Nakamura's hair. The finish saw Zayn trying to win by count out with Nakamura out there. Nakamura beats the count. Then Nakamura brings Zayn outside, runs him into the ring post and throws him in the timekeeper's area, and then baits him into a Kinshasa, which Zayn had been evading all night long, rolling out of the ring every time that Shinsuke set up for it. And McAfee had a funny line during this match. He said, that's the best thing you do is run away from the match. But, I thought it was nice to see it not end the same way. How do you feel about this match with, furthering the feud between the two of these?
It was fun for sure. Yeah, there was a lot of hair pulling going on for two dudes. That was pretty funny. Shinsuke, I like his style. I love that specific style that he has. The strong style, Japanese. And so I like seeing him just beat the crap out of Sami because Sami's such a good seller. So there's a lot of great spots where he's just punching and kicking Sami, and it looks like it hurts so much. It was great. There's a really big spill too that Shinsuke took just before the commercial. That was a pretty big bump. I was surprised to see that. But yeah, it was a decent match, and I liked the finish. That Kinshasa looked great. And you know what? I like the fact that he caught him coming back into the ring to beat the count. Because how many times do you see people beat the count and you think to yourself, if I'm the opponent standing there in the ring, I should attack them as soon as they get in the ring, right? But I know that you're not supposed to attack your opponent while they're in the ropes or around the ropes or under the ropes. But for me, I'm always thinking as soon as they're available, I'm going to hit them as hard as I can. So I really liked that kick to end the match. It's a decent match, both great workers. And one more thing I'll add is Pat McAfee had another line too that was funny. He was describing Shinsuke as an alien. That was hilarious.
Oh, he was saying funny stuff all night long. McAfee, I got fatigued from taking notes on funny things he was saying. He was all over the place tonight. But yeah, the match was good. Both of them are great in the ring. And like you said, the finish, I really love the finishing sequence myself because we've seen the tease of the count out last week with Riddle and Zayn. We had the count out before with Zayn. We had Zayn running for McIntyre. And then this one, he runs right into Shinsuke's knee, which is well deserved. And like you said, I like the fact that they had somebody actually get, blasted by something when they try to beat a count out, which is something that really should have, guys get up on the apron. Somebody should nail them with a drop kick or something like that. But just like in the Butch and Woods match. But anything more on this one?
No, not really. It was fun. I enjoyed it. So I if they have a rematch, I'm cool with that. But because they've gone, 2 matches, each person won, they're probably gonna have a rubber match, a third match. I'll be here for it.
Yeah, it's almost like Nakamura is like the babyface gatekeeper right now, and Zayn is the heel gatekeeper, rocking the bloodline stuff and all that. And right now they're facing each other. But
yeah,
they're
they
having
got no gate to keep right now.
Yeah, they're having good matches though, so whatever. We had Happy Talk next. All I wanted to do was
Shut up.
God.
Yeah, just tell them that.
Exactly. Lunchable break for our friend Kanye Twitty.
Yep.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
That's all I have to say anytime.
Shush.
Yep. Exactly.
Shush.
We need Chad Gable on SmackDown to tell Happy Corbin that when he comes out. Now, Happy Corbin got some good heat here. He took credit for all Madcap's achievements and all that. Comes out, says he's wearing a $12,000 hat, which is pretty laughable.
Yeah.
And $70,000 watch. Later on, McAfee says this guy pays $12,000 for a crappy hat, and he comes out here and be a piece of garbage. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yep.
When he broke the trophy, McAfee's just screamed,
Ooh.
"It's shattered, the rat bastard!"
Yeah.
And
he was on fire tonight. Pat McAfee was.
I did feel like the crowd. I would like to talk to somebody who was there because it felt like the crowd was legitimately booing this. Now, earlier on, I mentioned this to you. I don't know if you caught it during the show. I mentioned it that they were showing like fan reactions from last week's segment that weren't from last week's segment. They were from like some other thing from 2009 where people in the crowd were real heated up, and you could just tell it wasn't the same crowd because they panned up like it was opposite hard cam. And that's exactly where I was. And none of that was going on because when they would show that segment, the background of it, it was basically either people not in their seats or people filing in and out and all over the place. And I just thought,
it wasn't like natural through the middle of it. I feel like at the end when he was destroying the trophy, that was true heat coming from the audience. But yeah, through the middle sections, they're probably throwing in some video packages because they did not respond to Happy Corbin at all.
yeah. And when they showed they didn't respond to Happy Corbin early in this. They did by the end, I felt like you said. But when they were showing the recap of last week, they were definitely sweetening it up by cutting in stuff from back when Stone Cold was still in the WWE or something. Like it was just like so obvious. But whatever. That's not the first time. Certainly won't be the last time. But yeah, Corbin gets some more heat here on Madcap. Disses him and stuff, says he's got to eat his Wagyu steak after his nurse chews it for him now. Who knows when Madcap's coming back or where they're going with this. I don't even see the necessity to have Corbin out here doing this, but you got anything else on this one?
No, there's really nothing to say. The jokes weren't funny. He didn't even joke really. And him destroying the trophy is unfortunate. We all want to see that. We all like that trophy. I mean, even if it is ridiculous looking, it's still a trophy that meant something. So, yeah. And that's all you got to say, really. There's not much to say about this. Story's over. Madcap's going to be off TV a little bit, and Corbin's still a dick.
Yep, and it was dumb as hell when he broke the trophy and then went in there with the top piece and was holding it. Like, what was he doing? And why the hell why do they have to set up the whole Happy Time set for that? Chairs and the 2 chairs and the ropes and the carpet,
Right?
All that for that,
He was very serious throughout the whole thing. He never smiled really, even when he was gloating about his piece of art, his artwork, when he injured Madcap, and he asked them to repeat it, and then we saw the recap over and over again. He was very serious through the whole thing. He never really smiled at all, but he kept saying like, I am the happiest I've ever been. So he's going down that psychopath route. And sometimes the audience can't get on that. They can't connect with somebody that's trying to be a psychopath because nobody understands where it's going. So, I don't know. It's going to be over soon, hopefully.
Let me just start this off and just say, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. So moving on to the next match, man, we had Gulag and Gunther. Gunther made short work of him, worked the hell out of him with some chops, got him into his powerbomb stack pin for the win there. Then after the match, Gunther went ahead and put him in a Boston Crab. This sent Ricochet out to the ring. Gunther left the ring when Ricochet made the save, and it looks like we're getting a feud between Ricochet and Gunther coming up, which would be in line with the things that I've been suspecting about Gunther pursuing the IC title. So what do you think about their use of Gulag? Because it feels like they're using Gulag, or I guess utilizing would be the more appropriate term, but utilizing Gulag basically as a jobber here for anybody that, they use him for some ladies. Now they're using him for Gunther. And now it feels like that was a buffer to get Ricochet involved after the segment they had last week. So what do you think about their use of Gulag and the possible feud moving forward with Ricochet and Gunther?
He's got that solid jobber status going right now. But Gunther, I need to see him wrestle a longer match. Both matches with him and Gulag were short, and Gulag didn't really get much in. And I was hoping the second fight there was a little bit something more, something different, but it really just looked and felt like a repeat of the first one and didn't really go much longer than the first one either. So, I mean, it looks kind of like Veer matches. So seeing Ricochet at the end of it made me excited because I'm like, oh, maybe Gunther will get more than 4 minutes then to do a match. But that being said, they don't even give Ricochet that much time anymore either. So I'm ready for that match between those two, and I hope they get a good amount of time. And I think it's gonna be a great matchup, great change of styles between the two of them. Awesome worker with Ricochet. He's great with big guys, so I'm excited for that match. But this match is really not. There really wasn't much going on. This is a repeat.
Yeah, definitely repeat. Definitely not. It'd be nice to see Gulag get in a little bit more offense. He can produce movement, and that's what we're going to see out of Ricochet and Gunther. I think, when you get some movement around a big guy, you can have a good match. And that's really like on the flip side on Raw with Omos. What they need and what can make a decent match with him is have somebody who can move. Lashley, tries to use the speed that he has, and you need somebody who, I guess right now, looks strong to be against Omos. But what makes those matches work to the extent that they do, because, they barely work, some may say they don't work at all, is Lashley utilizing that speed. So I think that Ricochet being a high-flying cruiser, it'll be a good match with Gunther, and it'll be really, really cool to see Gunther nail Ricochet with those devastating chops. I mean, Jesus. I wish I could. Anybody who made me mad, I wish I could pay Gunther to do that too.
Yes. Best chops in the game right now. Yeah, I was just hoping Gulag got some of that speed in there, and he didn't. What I was kind of really hoping happen is it would have been cool if Gulag used like one of Ricochet's moves, because he kind of got fired up by Ricochet before the match. It would have been a cool like little homage to Ricochet, like, hey, here's one of your moves, because I know Gulag can move. Like you said, he's a cruiser like Ricochet. He can get around the ring like him. So I thought that would have been a good idea if I was booking that match. WWE, hire me.
Yeah. Hire him, hire me, hire
I'll just keep
somebody.
campaigning through this podcast until one of them hear me and picks me up.
It'll happen eventually.
It's going to happen. Anyways.
All right, moving on from that one. We We had LA Knight backstage, but he was
You had who?
is Max DUPRI,
DUPRI.
head of his modeling agencies, telling Pierce that he was hired by Sonia Deville. Adam's a little bit confused here. He says it's awkward because Sonia Deville was fired, but Max says he has a contract. What do you think about this new presentation here of Max DUPRI, formerly LA Knight?
I've been hearing about this, and I actually haven't seen any footage of him in this role, but I understand he's already been doing this and he's got recruits underneath him. I don't know if you have more information about that, but yeah, I'm excited. I love new characters. I love new stories. So yeah, let's get it, Max DUPRI.
And Mace and Mansoor have been the two that he's been managing.
Yeah,
So we'll see if they stick with that or where they're going.
Mace is a model.
Yeah, I think he was even
They
saying
cleaned him up, huh?
Yeah, he was Max DUPRI. He was introducing him as Face. He's saying, "Don't call him Mace,
man.
call him Face now, because he has a beautiful face." And so,
It's gonna be funny. It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be entertaining. Maybe if he gets, I know they're on different brands, but if he gets mixed in with KO, oh, that'd be fun.
yeah, I think KO and anybody's
against the
fun.
faces or something, Yeah, exactly. But he could really like lay it into him, being a modeling agency and all that.
All
Yeah,
right.
there's a lot they can stem off this, so I'm excited. We'll see what kind of stories they can grow from this.
All right. I'm for it too. I just want to see them get some decent time. You know what I mean? And those are two guys who we haven't really seen on TV too much. So if we can see Mace and Mansoor, because I saw Mansoor, fighting at a house show, doing a great job. It'd be nice to see these guys get some time. So next up,
I believe we haven't seen. Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say we haven't seen Mansoor since the last Saudi PLE, right?
not
I think.
as anything other than a lumberjack.
Oh, that's right. He was out there. Yeah. One more question for you too. They mentioned Sonia Deville here, but we didn't see her. What do you think? Just real quick, 1 minute, quick fire. What's gonna happen with Sonia?
Well, she's been wrestling on Raw against Bliss, so I guess if she's fired from the management role, then they're keeping her as a Raw women's superstar. That's, I guess, what I'm assuming for her. And
Gotcha.
given the fact that they have, two prominent women that they're not going to be using right now for a quote unquote indefinite period of time, I would assume they'd stay on Raw, but who the heck knows what they're going to do with Sonya. I figure that's why she's not on SmackDown, because she's had the matches on Raw. There's no reason for her to have a match on SmackDown, and she's fired as the manager, so she shouldn't be there anyway.
Yeah. And did she have a specific manager role for each brand, or I thought her and Adam just bounced back and forth, right?
Correct. Yeah, I think some
Okay.
people got like the impression that SmackDown was Sonya and Pierce was Raw, but it was always just both of them doing both together the whole time. But when they did the draft, I think Sonya picked SmackDown's pick or announced SmackDown's picks or whatever, and
Gotcha.
Pierce announced Raw's. So that sort of created that narrative that one was one show, one was the other. So that's that.
All right, then.
We had RKBro backstage. Riddle saying, "Let's be honest, dude. I've been beating Usos one by one on my own." Orton then says, "Let's be honest. The Usos are sweating bullets. They're not confident here, and they will get hit by three most dangerous letters, RKBro." Riddle was real funny at the end of this one. How'd you feel about the RKBro getting us pumped up for their match? Anything to add there?
RKBro 420 says we just smoked your ass. He's got to get that in there, of course. That's I think I heard it 3 times like tonight. I don't know. I heard it repeatedly. But anyways, it's fun to see him. It's really just a little interview of them saying we're gonna win. Really not much to it, but I will say they both looked high as hell. That is for damn sure.
Well, it was funny how Orton was like, "Hey, when the smoke clears," and then, and just the way he said it and the way that just his cadence in it was pretty funny.
Yeah, they're really playing it up.
Yep. So, just after this, we get another pre-tape backstage of Shotzi, Aaliyah, And then Raquel walks in. Shotzi and Leah are arguing about what happened last week after they were showing a video package of the Rousey and Raquel match. Leah said that it was a video of the opportunity that Shotzi ruined for her. Shotzi then said, they argue back and forth. Shotzi argues, as a typical heel does. Aaliyah does as babyface. Then we have Raquel step into the picture. Shotzi says, and you pushed me out of the way when I wanted to go out there, and I'm going to beat you in my next match, and all these things. And then we have Raquel telling her that she's, what did she say in Spanish? What's she saying?
Estás muerta.
There we go. And what does that mean? You're dead?
Means you're dead.
All right. She said that. And it's after Shotzi called her an absurd Amazon. Good one.
Yeah, she
Shotzi.
really laid into her with a bunch of insults. But I tell you what, that was some good delivery by Shotzi.
Yeah. But so then we get a match here. The story of this one, Raquel was just too much for Shotzi. Everything that Shotzi tried to do got overpowered by Raquel. Shotzi's on her back at one point trying to lock a headlock in, gets rammed into the corner. Finish was pretty impressive. We see Shotzi go off the top rope for a Hurricane Rana, gets stopped right in the middle of it by Raquel. She powers up, pulls her up into a powerbomb position, then swaps over to a fallaway slam, adds another fallaway slam for good measure, then nails her signature spinning splash in the corner and a giant, powerful Chingona bomb for the pin. How'd you feel about this presentation of these two ladies?
Oh, it was good. I like what you said about Shotzi was kind of trying everything. She started off trying to use her speed, and she was running around the ring, and that didn't work. And then she tried using some strikes, punching and kicking. That didn't work. Then she moved to the submission game, and that wasn't bringing Raquel down. And then she tried that Hurricane Rana off the top. And the way that Raquel did those two fallaway slams was fantastic. Those were money.
She looks like JBL hitting those.
What's that?
She looks like JBL hitting those fallaway slams, man.
For sure, like a tower's falling, like a building's falling,
Yeah,
like
fallaway slams.
It's awesome.
I love fallaway slams when they're done by somebody big that just looks like they're just getting rid of somebody,
Yep.
Throwing them like
and
a
they
sack
both
of
had
potato.
good facial expressions too, like a lot of good selling, I would say, on both their parts. There's a little bit of transitional sloppiness, but hey, they probably don't get to do this often on TV, so that's a little part of it. But yeah, I love that corkscrew splash off the top of the rope. To see Raquel do that with her size, man, that is beautiful. I couldn't decide what I liked more between that corkscrew splash she did off the top rope or her Chingona bomb, because that bomb is deadly.
Yeah, that was strong. She even had that moment when she had the tree slam into the buckle of Shotzi, and they were putting her over as a giant this whole time, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody who says last
really
week she got buried because she lost, I think
no.
And I've heard different people with different opinions. Some people go, "Oh, she lost, buried." Oh, well, people were just gonna remember that she lost her first match. She looked good in that match, and she looked good in this match. So, that's the story I see. And then I also see Aaliyah getting involved with Raquel next. What do you think about that? And do you think that Raquel's making any kind of moves towards heel, or do you think they're going to keep her babyface?
I think she's going to be babyface for a little bit. She's definitely one, though, that can transition because she was a great heel in NXT. So I don't think she'll be face for long. But I think from the time being, I think the next match we see is going to be her and Aaliyah. And then after that, she's going to maybe move on to somebody else. And then Shotzi and Aaliyah are going to fight each other for a match. It'll just be kind of like this rotation. But yeah, Raquel looked fantastically strong, like super strong in this, to the point where I'm ready for her to fight anybody. I think it's time for her to get some challengers. So I like this. Shotzi was really fired up too. I have to say, when she came out and she had her old tank helmet with the horns. I know she didn't have a tank, but the helmet actually looked pretty cool. And she was so fired up for that match. She was so amped up. I really liked that. You know, to see people into it that much, it pleases me. I can see they're enjoying it, and it makes me enjoy it. So that was great.
I enjoyed it too, man.
The Beyond the Mat podcast. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back to Beyond the Mat. We are going to finish up our SmackDown review here. Just wanted to remind you guys, those pesky ads that are playing at the beginning and throughout the episode, you can get rid of them by joining us on Patreon. Our lowest tier is only $1 a month, just $1. If it was less, if I could make it less, I would make it less. I can't make it less. Patreon won't let me do that. But regardless, we have everything that we do on Patreon ad-free, and we'll have other bonus content available for you there shortly soon. You can find us on Twitter at BeyondMattWWE and email anytime, matt@beyondthemat.com. Email any question, any topic, anything that you would like to hear read on air. As long as it's not offensive, we will address it for you in either our weekly fix show or our weekly mailbag show every week. Kyle, you're a patron, aren't you?
Damn straight.
And you enjoy that ad-free content, don't you?
That's right. I hate sitting through that stuff. I even hate skipping through that stuff. $1 a month is the least I would ever spend for anything, and it's the most I can get for my dollar. So I love it.
Yep, and you will have access to insider content that I get, and I will pass it along to you through Patreon. We will have all kinds of watch-alongs and different streams that we're going to be adding to it as we move along here and get through the summer. Only going to get better. And if you join the $1 tier, you will get the benefits of all the tiers here for the first 3 months that we have our Patreon open. So you'll get merchandise and whatever else it says that all the other tiers get. $1 a month, guys. That's all it is. Big contribution to Beyond the Mat if you could do it.
And you get to hear more of me.
That's right. You get to hear more of Kyle, Chris, Brad when he comes on, whoever else we get to join us. We have a professional wrestler pretty soon that's going to join us, I believe. If he doesn't, then shame on him. But I do have a local performer who wrestles for HCO Wrestling, and he wants to come on and talk about himself, promote himself on the show. So we'll see if that happens.
Let's get
Back to SmackDown, though. Xavier Woods and Butch. Woods is backstage. He does not want Butch to have Fight Night's members alongside Butch. And Sheamus and Holland are pretty pissed off, but they pump up Butch before he storms down to the ring. This one had some nice joint manipulation by Butch. McAfee called him son of a Butch. There was some New Day Rocks. There was some New Day Rocks chants going on in this one. Actually, they landed last week. The New Day Rocks chants did not land whatsoever, but it ends up like a lot of Woods' matches do, like everyone I've seen recently, with the backwoods roll up, just as Butch was getting some momentum on Xavier. So once again, we have a New Day and Sheamus faction match, whatever you want to call it. New Day and Fight Night match. Butch is doing the bidding here for Fight Night. How do you feel about this feud that we've seen for 2.5, 3, 4 months?
Oh, I'm so over it. I tell you what, I do like one thing about this. That's Butch. Everything that Butch does. Love it. He's great. Everything else sucks. There's really not much else to say. This win with the backwoods again. I hate this roll up. I'm done with it. I have to say I am surprised that the audience gave the New Day Rocks cheers a little bit more for Xavier than Kofi. That's kind of strange because like usually Kofi is the one that's better at getting the crowd riled up. Plus they had 2 of them last week and Xavier was by himself this week.
And a trombone.
Yeah, and a trombone last week. He didn't even have the trombone with them. So that was quite surprised. But I think that just shows that here in Michigan, we are devout fans. Just look at people that are still Lions fans after 50 odd years of playoff nothing. Anyways, we stand behind our people. So yeah, the crowd was up for Xavier tonight. I gotta admit, that was actually kind of cool to see them getting those chants in there.
Yeah, maybe.
But really, I'm over it. I'm over the whole thing.
Maybe the in-crowd plants that start the chants were just a little bit more effective tonight, or maybe
more vocal.
Yeah, or just maybe New Day's a little bit more over in Michigan than they were where I was. But I'll tell you what, I did see a lot of families, at SmackDown. Usually you see a lot of families at SmackDown, but we're about to get in the main event in a minute, and there was, at the end of it, you could see them showing kids a lot, and that wasn't fake fan footage, because that's usually just stuff they splice into packages. Like, the kids that they were showing were just totally affected. I'm not going to say which way, because I'll give away the ending, even though everybody already heard it or saw it. But, the kids definitely looked like they were upset with what was happening down there. And that's effectively what WWE's trying to do. They're trying to say, hey, even though Roman Reigns is the unified champion, even though now the Usos are the unified tag champions, there you go, spoiler alert. Even though all that stuff is true, they are still bad guys. They are not supposed to be cheered. You are supposed to be cheering for Riddle and Orton here. And that's basically what they did. But after the win, you can see the crowd getting behind the Bloodline, because the Bloodline's so attractive these days, but they didn't. Now, I'm digressing. We were talking about the New Day and Butch. I'm over it as well. After the match.
That's fine. We can move on. There's nothing else to say about that.
Well, the one thing to say is that next week, Woods is proposing a 6-man tag match between him, Kofi, and a mystery partner versus all 3 members of Fight Night. Who do you think that mystery partner will be?
I have no idea, to be honest. I have no idea.
I have no idea either.
You got any suggestions?
It's got to be somebody returning, or somebody that we haven't seen. Maybe somebody like Mansoor, even though he's doing this LA Knight thing. I just think maybe the good thing is whoever it is could be the next person to feud with Butch or Fight Night. And then it's not New Day Fight Night every freaking week. It's somebody new.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Is Shelton Benjamin healed? Is he still injured?
He's still injured. Yeah, he's injured.
Wouldn't that be weird?
Yeah. So I think it'll be somebody, and hopefully it's not somebody that New Day hangs on to or like brings into their madness, and it's somebody who just fills in for the night and then picks up the feud with the Fight Night group, and then they go from there. So.
Yeah, I like surprises, so I hope it's a good surprise.
Yep. So next up we had RKBro versus the Usos, winner take all tag unification.
Of surprises.
Yep.
Or I should say not surprised.
Yeah, I felt like this was very telegraphed. Just the match itself was a typical RKBro match. We did have a hot tag where Orton ran wild, hit his signature snap body slams, draping DDT, vipered up, nailed an RKO. Jay made the save on the pin he went for there. Then we saw Riddle run wild, beat the hell out of Jay until he got a Broton blocked. And then Jay hit a really nice looking pop-up neck breaker. Finish saw Riddle trying to go for a top rope RKO. And then all of a sudden we have Heyman distracting the referee as he's trying to enter the ring. Roman Reigns comes out of the timekeeper's area, knocks Riddle off the top rope. Uso splash and the pin. 1, 2, 3. Your new unified tag champions are the Usos. We the ones. There you go. And it didn't just end there. They beat the living heck out of Riddle and Orton. They beat Orton with the ring steps, continued to beat him down. They put Riddle in the guillotine, choked him out, got him on the announce table, hit an Uso splash through the table, really got some serious heat on him just after we saw him nail that knee on Roman Reigns. Like I said, Meltzer rumored the next two opponents in order would be Riddle and Orton for Reigns at the next two big pay-per-views, and then McIntyre in the UK, which makes sense. But knowing all of that and knowing what had happened and just seeing everything, it just felt very, very predictable. Although sometimes maybe it's predictable for me, not everybody else. At the end of the day, I like what we saw. I like the match. I don't like seeing two of my favorite guys get beaten down like that. And so I hope that they have something booked for them to, build themselves back up. In fact, I hope one of them wins one of the matches against Reigns, but I don't think they will. Obviously, they're keeping RKBro together here, which is good. Hopefully, they don't just split up because they lost. Now, my question during the match was, where was Orton at the end sequence? I didn't see him anywhere. I never saw him get taken out by anything. I also just felt like the Reigns interference was just telegraphed and predictable. And at the end of the day, I just am not that big of a fan of the Usos right now as I was before. I just am a little bit over their act more than probably most people are, and definitely more than I used to be. I respect them as tag team wrestlers. I think they're two of the better tag team wrestlers right now in any promotion, if not the best. They're outstanding at it. There's not people very often that can be excellent tag team wrestlers and just continue to do that and make it interesting and make it great over and over again. And they do that. So I respect them for that. However, I'd rather see Orton and Riddle as my unified tag champions. So what I wanted didn't happen. So that's more why I would be disappointed with it. But other than that, what did you think of it? And how do you feel about where we're going after this?
Well, it's it's a new world we're living in now where the Bloodline holds all the titles. It's something to see. And I knew it was going to happen at some point because you just can't have Roman Reigns get the two titles and then the Usos not get them. You got to have them all together holding, two titles in each hand. So they got their photographic moment, sorry, of them holding all the titles in the middle. And yeah, that was a pretty vicious beatdown at the end there. That splash by Jay onto the announcer table looked hideous. Like, that was painful. That looked old school to me. Like, I haven't seen anybody do a jump from the apron to the announcer table in a while. They don't do that very often. I don't think they allow it too much anymore because you can really get hurt doing that move. Like, legit get seriously hurt.
But yeah, the guy giving the move can get hurt really bad. The other thing,
exactly.
They sold a Riddle injury in this match. I don't know if that was worked or shoot, but they
on the hip.
They before commercial break, they told us that he got hurt on a turnbuckle throw. I don't know if that was legit or not, or if we're going to see that as storyline
sure
part.
That was worked.
Yeah, it felt worked. So you think that'll be part of Riddle's excuse why they lost, or would you think we'll have any kind of tag unification rematch or de-unification of these titles anytime soon, or you think we're going to see the Usos walk around with both belts for a while?
Well, what I was hoping for a long time is that Randy would go one-on-one with Roman. And so I hope that they're doing this hip injury as a work with Riddle where they can say Riddle is going to be sidelined for the next couple of weeks. So now Randy has to fight. So now, because who's been fighting the Usos for the last month? Riddle. He's been doing all the matches, right?
Yeah.
So maybe Randy actually opens up his schedule a little bit more and decides to wrestle on a more regular basis and has single matches against Jay and Jimmy on his way up to his match with Roman. Now, I know you have some information on who Roman will be facing in the future, but if Randy does have a couple singles matches against Jay and Jimmy individually while Riddle is injured, supposedly through work, then that means when Riddle is uninjured and he comes back, then Riddle can step back in and he can have his revenge on Randy. I'm sorry, not Randy. I'm sorry, Roman is what I meant to say. So that's how I see it. I don't think that because Randy fights Jay and Jimmy individually, he has to move on to Roman after that. I think he can fight them and beat them, and that earns Riddle a chance to have his rematch, or his match, I should say, with Roman for taking him down off the top rope at the end of the match there.
Yeah, going into this match, they played a really nice video package for RKBro highlighting their,
which was number 5, by the way. I just have to point out, I was keeping track. It was the 5th one.
It was a good one. That was a well put together package.
Very good.
And it, they've really emphasized like the friendship aspect of it. And I think that, so you could be right up the right alley with the Orton, fighting matches on Riddle's behalf and all that. But as far as the next title shot, Riddle's going to say something like,
"Well, you better hop out of the way, Skipper, because I'm getting this carrot tonight."
It's just the way that they singled him out and did the splash through the table, and he was the one Roman, got in the guillotine. He's the one Roman knocked off the top. He's the one who hit Roman with the knee. He's the one who took the pin in the 6-man match. He's next. And then I think
he's got to be. Yep.
Yeah, and Orton will follow up that. But it'd be cool to see Orton get in some singles matches with the Usos, because we haven't seen Orton do that,
Yep. That's my prediction for where all these people are going. And this whole match that we saw, it was a repeat of, previous RK-Bro matches against Usos. But at least, the ending was very predictable, for sure. But the beatdown being as severe as it was, I actually like that they went a little extreme with the beatdown, because now you are actually not you're legit, you're not liking the Usos and Roman as much. Yeah. And so I think what they did was they did their job well. They you know what I mean? Like, they're not just heels in the classical sense, and they did a lot of classical heel work here. They're heels in the real sense that you're literally not liking them as much now. So I really liked that.
Kudos to you. Kudos.
Right, kudos.
Yeah, I did think that they did that well, because, like I said, that even I was talking on Matt's podcast last week, you can sense, and certainly it's different in different areas. It wasn't like that last week, but you can feel sometimes Roman getting the babyface reaction when he really shouldn't. And so when they do stuff like this, it just makes people never want to give him a babyface reaction after that. At least not until they remember the next thing they remember him for. But at the same time, fans want to appreciate the unified champion, And so it's an interesting thing, and they have to sort of go overboard with their beatdowns, like you said. Have anything else to add about the tag unification and the bloodline and all that, or do you want to move on?
Only one thing in the beginning of the show, I forgot to mention how great Paul Heyman was on the mic. He was on fire in the beginning of the show. It was great. And so during this match, Paul Heyman got on the headset and he said like a couple sentences in the beginning, but then he didn't say anything for like most of the second half. I was a little disappointed. I like my Paul Heyman discussion and his comments that he adds. So I was a little disappointed we didn't get to hear a little bit more from him during that.
Yeah,
he's like my favorite manager.
He put over Riddle when Riddle was fighting through the injury, and then we didn't hear much of him after that. And I guess he was getting ready for his spot in the finish there. But I'll tell you what, he looks funny as hell sitting there with the 2 belts.
So good.
It's so funny. I don't know why.
His face, oh my God, you want to punch him so much. He does such a good job.
Yeah, I wish they had more time for this match so that they could have milked some of the moments better and seen his face when Riddle's running wild like Riddle ran wild, and before you knew it, he was getting blocked on the Broton, and it was like, man, I thought he had a little minute there to get an advantage, but that ended real fast. But yeah, so got unified champions. Riddle and Orton are now no longer the Raw tag team champions, but they, for now, are still a tag team together, still best friends. We'll see how that works out on Raw. We also have Belair and Ripley tonight in the dark match. What do you think about that and the possibility of them feuding together, most likely after Hell in a Cell?
Yeah, I think it's been mentioned on previous podcasts of them two having a feud in the future. So I'm here for it. Great, great, great wrestlers, both of them. So I love them both too as their characters. And the fact that, Rhea Ripley is really gone down the heel route is going to be great against Bianca, keeping her a baby face. Because it's hard to keep Bianca a baby face when everything she says and does is heelish. So
Bianca already had a championship opportunity last week and she crashed and burned.
She didn't crash
we're
and
not
burn
talking
at
about her
WrestleMania.
pettiness.
Yeah, well,
Mate, this isn't high school. And I'm not going to let your pettiness hurt Nikki's feelings.
Rhea's not going to let any pettiness bother her, so she may win this match. But, may win the feud, that is. Bianca may crash and burn, like I said. Like Piper said there. But anyway, yeah. The possibility of them feuding, I like it. You like it too, you say?
Oh, yeah. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I think it's, that was one of the reasons I was excited to see Ripley turn heel and join the faction. And then finally, we had our news about Sasha and Naomi women's tag titles. Michael Cole. Yep, Michael Cole let us know that they both are suspended indefinitely from in-ring competition and that the tag titles on the women's side will be competed for in a tournament to happen in the future. What are your thoughts on what's happening with the tag titles?
Kind of expected to hear this announcement, but they just keep burying them further and further, which I don't enjoy seeing on my television, especially during SmackDown, especially just before the main event. Are you kidding me? Like, just before RKBro entrance, you're going to throw that news at me? That's it's terrible timing. Why couldn't they just say it in the beginning of the episode? Just get it out of the way, but whatever. We'll see if they can eventually work something out. The term suspended indefinitely, means that there's a possibility of them working something out still, right?
Yeah.
So we'll just have to wait and see now.
And
I
so,
just want to hear what Sasha and Naomi have to say because they've been quiet on the whole thing.
right. And so, and that's the thing. Like you can say what you want about what happened. You can say what you want about which side gets which side. But now you have one side who has national television, a major unification match as their platform to say all these things about them being unprofessional, which I think they already did that enough on Raw. Just give us the facts, what's going on. The tag titles have been stripped. They're going to be in the tournament. Fine. They're suspended indefinitely. Fine. If that's how you're going to handle it, fine. Now, them suspending them indefinitely, just as a sidebar to everything else, I don't want to get too much into the minutia of everything, but them suspending them indefinitely from their contracts. Now, let's say that Naomi had 4 months left on her contract and Sasha had 4 months left on her contract. While they're suspended, it freezes their contract. So if they legitimately suspended them, shoot style, not just on TV in kayfabe, then they can freeze their contract and make them have to remain under contract once the suspension is lifted. So that's part of it that I think that a lot of people don't realize that could be unfair to the performers a little bit, or maybe unfair is not the word, but it's definitely a repercussion of it. And a reason why WWE would do the indefinite suspension and use that terminology. But other than that, I have nothing to say about it or feeling one way or the other. I feel like they should have just said what the facts were, and that's it. And so I guess we can get excited for whatever mix and match tag teams they're going to have in a tournament. And maybe we'll see some from NXT get involved and get some action on the main roster. That's probably the best thing we're going to get out of all this.
Exactly. Just try to look at the positive. And, we saw Shotzi today. We saw Aaliyah on screen. She didn't have a match, but hopefully this means that we'll get to see some more of the women talent. Right? Just, I'm trying to think of it positively.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll get more of the women talent involved here. more people will get highlighted, and hopefully things will work out with the two that were suspended, Sasha and Naomi, because they're definitely people that I like WWE with. So for me,
get ready for Toxic Attraction.
yeah, I think that we're going to see them soon. But for me, Sasha and Naomi, I like having them there, but whatever happens, happens. But yeah, Toxic Attraction, man, could be your next women's tag champions on the main roster. That's right. Anything else tonight on SmackDown, man, before we close the show out?
Nope. I just want to say we the ones.
Right. That's right. They did win tonight and become the unified champions, and good for them. We'll see where that goes. I think that it was a decent episode, a little bit predictable. They had serious business to take care of with the unification match, and I think that the fact that they delivered a unified champion on TV, it makes the show a pretty big deal, makes it better than, if they would have just had an interference DQ finish and pushed it to the pay-per-view. So I guess some of us were right about the Fox influence on everything with that, maybe.
Yep.
I don't know. But yeah, decent episode. New tag champion, new feuds going for Roman, evidently coming up in the summer. And other than that, man, I am getting ready to.
I think I'm going to go to the nearest nudie bar and have a drink.
What are you doing for the rest of the night?
I'll see you in hell. Hashtag Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, channeling your inner Cody Rhodes.
By the way, there is a Hell, Michigan, so I'm being factual.
That's kind of weird. Now I'm a little bit freaked out. So we're going to get out of here, man.
Have a good night with that thought.
Yep. All right, guys. Remember to subscribe, leave a review, 5 stars if you can. Patreon, $1 to get rid of the ads. We will be back with our next show this weekend. Have a great night. And take it home, Kyle.
Good night, everybody.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Mat. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss a show.